Okay, so I'm going to run through a really simple version of what I was talking about on the forum. We have a simple rig here with a skeleton. There's actually two skeletons, so this one is our control skeleton, and then there's also hidden, there's a second skeleton that's basically identical and constrained to it, and that's the one you actually export to. And then down here we have our lovely violin. Worst violin ever made. So I'm going to turn off NURBS curve so we can see what we're doing. So we want to make a locator, create locator. It's down here. And so we'll drag that up around here. We'll call this back, or violin back locator. And then we want to parent this to one of these spine joints. So we have this selected, we shift select a spine, and we hit P, and it's parented. So if I bring the NURBS curves back, it'll move with it. We make another locator. Violin hand lock. I want to parent this to the hand up here. Something like that. Again, hit P, it's parented. And then what we want to do is take this, and we want to constrain the violin to move with these two locators. So you select the thing that drives it first, so that's the locator. The driven is the violin. And then you go up with the animation menu set, and you go to constrain, parent constrain. You want maintain offset turned off. You want both of these set to all. And you hit apply, and it snaps right to it. So then we select the other locator, shift select the violin, hit apply again, and now it's directly in the middle of the two. So now what we want to do is on the violin we have over here these two parent constraints, or the one parent constraint with two weights. One of them is for the hand and one of them is for the back. So if we set one of them to 0, say the hand, it snaps to the back. And I can control its orientation and position by moving the locator. And if I move the character, he stays with it, or the violin stays with it. And then if I switch the 1 to 0, it snaps over there. So now what I can do is I can add an attribute to the violin. So with the violin selected, I say add attribute. Locator selector, which goes from 0 to 10. It's a float. Select the attribute, go to set driven key, and say load driver. And then we need to find the constraint. So if we open the outliner, under the violin, here's this constraint, and we say load driven. And so we want to control the values of these with the locator selector. So right now it's set so that the hand is 1 and the back is 0. So we'll make a key, and then we set locator selector to 10. Swap these. Set another key. And now if we scrub this back and forth, it'll switch between them. So we started on the back, and we adjust this so that it's facing the back like that. And we can key the locator, and we can key this attribute on the violin. Don't just select the violin and hit S, because that'll give you problems over here. Ideally, you'd probably want to have another controller object on top of the violin with this attribute and whatnot. But for simplicity, I'm not bothering with that. So we'll key that. And so then we will get our NURBS curves. So let's bring this out a little bit to say 50. And I was keying everything on 0, so let's go back to 0. Oh, I guess I was keying at 1, so yeah, so we'll keep this at 1. So I'm going to switch this over to IK. So say it starts here, all at 1, and at frame 15, I don't know, he bends that way, so his violin's closer to his hand, and he brings his IK handle over here, rotate that wrist, obviously your rig would hopefully work well with this and not look strange. That's up to you. The elbow wouldn't be doing that. Like I said, it's just a very simple, quick thing. So now we have this hand locator here, over here. So what we're probably going to want to do is roughly align these so it stays in the same position, and I'm going to switch this to local. So that's its initial key. This is keyed here. So then here we want this to be at 0, so it's with the hand. So we key that, and actually that locator is not properly oriented. That looks closer. Nope, it's flipped. So we spin that around 180. Key that locator. Okay, so now of course that looks terrible. So what we want to do is a few frames beforehand, say 2, we keep this at 10. So now for the whole beginning of the animation, it's attached to the back. That arm looks terrible, but that's okay. And then when it gets here, it switches to being controlled by the hand. And then up here we can flip these back and key that and 0 these and key that and make this go till 30, or even make it go to 30. Now if we play it, it's way too fast, but you get the idea. So now it's constrained to both of those, and it's just moving. It's at the root of the scene. Again, it's just moving. It's translate and rotate. So then when we're done, all we would do is select the violin and say edit keys bake simulation. You want the hierarchy. If it's just the violin, it doesn't matter which one of these it is. You want channels to be all keyable, driven channels to be checked off, whatever your range is, in this case just whatever the time slider has. Disable implicit control turned on, and when we hit bake, all of that gets keyed in. And so now I'm actually going to bake this skeleton too. So assuming there was geometry actually on here. So like I said, there's 2 different skeletons. This is the one with all the controllers on it. This is the one that's it's constrained to. So now we can delete the rig group, and everything moves with just keyframes. And it's all nice and clean. And if you exported that to C4, it works fine. I tested it. So yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. But that's the basic gist of it. 2 locators. constrain it to both locators, give it an attribute that sets which one is in control, and then you adjust the position and orientation of the locators to match whenever it has to switch off. So yeah, hope that's helpful.